Nancy, thank you very much for being with us here on the program.
Good morning, Leanne, and good morning to the viewers.
All right, Nancy, what is your feeling on the decision that was made yesterday?
Well, we of course respect the sentence that was delivered yesterday, but we've always maintained from the time when judgment was delivered that we were disappointed in that we were unable to achieve what we had set out to achieve. Remember that we had charged Mr. Pistorius with premeditated murder, and what we were hoping for was a conviction at the very least on murder. But of course, we do respect that the judge, after analyzing the evidence, came to a different conclusion, and we accepted and we moved on with that. But we also further argued for a minimum sentence of 10 years imprisonment, and we got half of that. And we find solace in that, at the very least, we were able to get something out of what he had asked for.
Yeah. All right. Are you appealing?
At this point, that decision has not been taken. The prosecution team will have to study the judgment all over again and do some research in terms of case law to see if, we will be able to take the matter forward. I know that there are people who think that it's a very straightforward case, that we should, just go and argue that there was an error in law that was made. But it's not as simple as that. We have to go and study the case law very carefully and make sure that when we do take the matter forward, that we are able to sustain and successfully do so.
Does the family have a say at all? When I mean the family, I talk about the family of River Steenkamp. All over the newspapers today, they saying that they want this to come to an end. They want their lives to resume. It's not about getting revenge. They're fine with this ruling. Do they have a say in appealing?
Well, the appeal is really based on law and only on that. Unfortunately, the sentiments of everybody else, as much as we respect them, but they do not play a role because, as I said, we're going to have to look whether in law we do have a case that we can take forward. Yeah. As much as sometimes you find that people, feel that we should take the matter forward, but if in law we are unable to do so and do not have grounds to do so, then we will not do so. So as I'm saying, at this point in time, it's really going to be a question of us making sure that we study the case law, we study the judgment itself, and then make a proper decision. And we will of course, have to do so within the next 14 days.
Yeah. When the sentence was handed down yesterday by Judge Masipa, one of the things she did emphasize is that she didn't want to take away from the seriousness of the crime, and that she needed to find a balance in the sentencing. It was then handed down 5 years that Oscar Pistorius would spend in jail. But then a couple of moments later, after people had really read through how the actual sentencing worked, the fact that he could be out in around about 7 months and then serve the remainder at home, does that not worry you? Do you not feel that this is too lenient and it is sending the wrong message out, even though the judge said she didn't want to send the wrong message out?
Look, we have to respect the courts and their decisions, and it will be irresponsible of NPA to say that after we had an opportunity to argue our case and to come out and say that we think, this sentence is not befitting the crime. We argued and we made our feelings clear to the court and what we thought was a suitable sentence for this crime that he has been convicted of. At this point in time, we do have options that might be available to us. We just have to go back and consider those options. Of course, if we end up taking the matter further on appeal, things will change in the event that when we take the matter forward, this conviction is then set aside and he's then convicted of murder. That will then obviously automatically change this type of sentence that he got now. But if that doesn't happen, of course, we have to respect and move on to other cases.
Let's get some clarity here. When we talk about an appeal, and I know that this is all under discussion still, could the appeal be for the culpable homicide verdict as well as the sentence?
Well, as the case law stands now, it says that we can only appeal on a question of law where a person has been acquitted. So that is why I'm saying that we have to go and study that very carefully, because it is not a very straightforward matter as people make it out to be. So it's we can only appeal on the question of law where we think that there was an error made in law in terms of how it was interpreted or how it was applied to the facts that were presented to the court. So once that has been done, only then we can make a decision whether we're going to take the matter forward. And even then, you know, the prosecution team, as I said, they will study the judgment and do their research. They'll also have to go and of course, you know, consult with the national director and some of his deputies with the view to see if indeed this is the case that we should be taking forward.
Now, I think one of the issues that many people are talking about, and I think what's made this case different to all other cases, is that the fact that it has been broadcast live word for word. So you've had every judge, every advocate, every lawyer, every South African citizen listening to every single word. And that word, dolus eventualis, is something that keeps on coming up. It seems to be the catchphrase of this, and perhaps a mistake that's been made on behalf of the state. Is that something that's going to be looked at? And for people that don't really understand it, what is this dolus eventualis?
Well, you know, as I said, it's a principle that people think that it is easy, you know, to prove, but it's a form of intention because remember, in a criminal case, like a charge like murder, you have two elements that as a state we have to prove, which is the intention and the unlawfulness. So this is dolus eventualis is a form of intention that the state has to prove. And in this instance, the judge disagreed with us, and the judge was of the view that we are unable to prove that. But of course, as I say, you know, you have to go back to that principle itself. Make sure that also you get the case law that will either support your decision to appeal or that will be against it, and make sure that you make an informed decision when you take the matter forward. Yeah, indeed. I think the issue is, if I may, just my understanding is that the judge found that the issue of intent to kill Reeva was not proved, but the issue of intent to kill somebody was not even looked at. Is that the understanding at this point? Well, Leanne, as I said, we have to go and study the whole judgment. But if you recall, during the argument for sentence, our prosecutors argued that there was indeed an intention to shoot, and of course then, you know, we'll have to see if that intention, in our view, constitutes an intention to kill a person. The judge was of the view that that was not the case, and we know, as I said, we're going to have to go and study that very carefully. All right. So the door is very much so open. We will wait to hear from you. You have now got, well, as of yesterday, it was 14 days, now it's 13 days to make a final decision. Is that correct? So we should hear from you in the next 2 weeks. Well, yes, we should be able to make that decision very carefully, very soon. What we'll do also, of course, if we make a decision not to appeal the matter, we'll come back and inform the public accordingly. Good. All right. Nathi Mncube, the spokesperson for the National Prosecuting Authority, thank you very, very much for being our guest here on Morning Live.